Hi, welcome back everyone. I have a clear, cognizant, present timeline imprint to share. And what that means is Father God took me from my sleep and put me on a timeline, present timeline, in real time, and to an event that was actually happening. I usually don't have to reveal these imprints that I get. I get them a lot. I write them down in my notebook for intercessory purposes and for prayer. But this is urgent. I do have some notes here. So, let me see here. Today is the 27th. So, this was on the 26th, about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, when I entered the timeline, I was in a place, it seemed like I was out Midwest. Yeah, it felt like Midwest or getting closer to California somewhere. It felt around there because there was lots of land and dirt. And there was no houses around for like miles and miles and miles around. But when I entered the timeline, I was inside this kind of like a garage or a shack or something like that. And it was next to it wasn't a real gas station, like what they call the Philly station. Like one of those small places where you just drive through to get gas and then you just keep going, right? So when I first entered this timeline, I was inside the shack and there was someone in there with me, a man. He looked like he was like a service station type person. He had on like overalls and he was really, really dirty and filthy. His clothes were a mess. Like he looked like he hadn't washed or taken a bath or anything like that. His face was dirty. His hair was dirty and oily. Like a grease monkey, pretty much, right? And so maybe that's expected, but he was unusually filthy. So when I was looking around in this place, it was like kind of small in there, like maybe like a one room or something, or a room off to the side or something like that. I couldn't really move around that much. It was very, very, very small. There was lots of junk around, like garage junk or whatever. Just stuff that you would see in an old garage, pretty much. And so as I looked around, he was like making something or preparing something. I heard, banging noises. He was right behind me, but of course he didn't know I was there. But when I turned around, he had a cup in his hand, and he was pouring this. He did like a pouring motion with this cup, like towards the floor, and so I looked down towards the floor, and he was pouring it into this hole in the floor, and like when I looked down, it was like junk all over the place. Like this place was like a pack rat or a hoarder, kind of like dirty. And so when I looked inside this hole that he was pouring this cup from, there were like there was people down there, like a man, a woman, and a child. But she wasn't. Yeah, she was a child. She had to be at least 4 to 6 years old. I seen like these little white socks and Mary Jane shoes. But the thing is that they had like these little bugs all over them. They were crawling all over them, all over the place. all over their heads and on their legs and everything else. And these people were bound and gagged. So of course they weren't saying anything or moving around that much. And I looked, as I was staring down, I seen the man look upward towards the hole, like as if he was trying to see if anybody was up there, but he had these bugs all over his face. And I couldn't understand why. And he just kept, this service station person, this dirty guy, he just kept pouring these bugs down. I didn't see where he was getting them from, but, and I'm like, these people are alive. And he's pouring this couple bugs, like he must have been doing it for a while because they were covered in these bugs. I couldn't tell what kind of bugs that they were. They were moving pretty fast all over them, just traveling all over them. It's disgusting. And so as I looked up, and I guess he was like busy doing something else, I was looking out the window to see like where was this place at. And as I looked out the window, I heard him like coming towards the window. And so I just climbed out the window. And as I looked down the street or across, at first I looked across the street and I seen like this a shack. It was like abandoned and it was decrepit and depreciated, and it had been there for a long time and it looked like it was falling in. And so I looked to see if there was anybody around, like any other buildings, any houses or anything like that. There was nothing around for miles. Like I'm looking down the road and it was just like all dirt road. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I did see like a car off to the side of the building. It was blue, like cornflower blue. And there was a little patch of grass there, but it was just the building and like, you know, the gas pump and this, it was like pretty much like a garage shack, pretty much. And I believe that these people stopped there to get gas. I don't know how he got them all tied up together, this family, this man, this woman, and this child. I don't know how he got them to get down in this basement or like a cellar. There was so much dirt around. I don't know how he got all of them down there, but they were bound and gagged and there was no one around. And I believe that there was their car on the outside of the building, but there wasn't any other car or anything like that around, any other automobiles. There was a shack across the street, a lone shack, single shack, but there was nothing else. It was like miles and miles of stretch of land and dirt. I couldn't believe it. And I believe that he had these bugs or whatever that he was putting all over them like that, and it was on the child too. My goodness. She wasn't more than 6 years old. I believe they stopped there to get gas. Somehow he got them tied up and down in this cellar thing and or basement or whatever it was, and their car was out front, but there was no one around. I was like, I wanted to cry so bad. And I think that he put the bugs down there, like, you know, he was like continuously dumping these bugs down there on them to, I don't know, eat the bodies or whatever, but they were alive. They were alive. They were alive. Now, again, I don't know exactly where this is. I have a feeling that I was in the Midwest someplace, or kind of like, now don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but kind of like Route 69, where it was like long, and you can drive for 30, 40 miles and not have a gas station. That type of route that they were on, and they just didn't make it out of this place. Like, I don't know how he got them down there all together. And he was short. Let me give you a description of him. He was about 5'7.5". I was taller than him. I'm 5'9". He was 5'7.5". I'm gonna say short, not very muscular, like just a plain build. He was white, and the people he held captive, they were white as well. I think this needs the attention of the authorities. I am praying, as I was after I received this timeline message, I was praying that somebody would come along and check this place out before it's too late. Like, because there is a whole family down here in this man's basement or cellar or whatever, and they were traveling alone, of course, because their car was outside. I don't think anybody knows that they're missing. Now, the type of car that they had, it was a 4-door, but it was like sedan. I don't know what type of car it was, make and model, but I know it was like a cornflower blue color, and it was just sitting on the side of this shack place. He probably drove it over there after they got gas. I'm not sure what happened, but I know that I seen these people down in the basement, and he was covering their bodies with these bugs or insects. I don't know if he was trying to get the insects to start to eat them or whatever. They weren't decomposing, they were alive. They were alive. So if you're under the sound of my voice, please pray. Please pray some authoritative figure comes and checks this place out, because this is out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have an exact location of where it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Midwest, going further west towards California. Maybe you could share this video. Maybe someone needs to hear it. What other notes do I have here? I think that was it. It's pretty intense. I couldn't eat for a while after I received that. But most of these imprints are. Well, that's what I have for now. There'll be more content as Father God gives me things to share for the Life, Love, and Lessons channel. And I'll be sharing them soon. So take care. Thanks for listening.